Hi, my name's Chisholm, and as some of you may know, I'm a recovering lawyer, and I just want to talk to you today about some of the tips and traps of moving away from what I call the old law business model of leveraging people by time by hourly rate to what I think is a better business model for law firms and clients alike, and that is having a timeless law firm moving and transitioning to value-based pricing. I guess one of the things I should explain is what value-based pricing is all about. It's not just a billing model change, it's a business model change. And value pricing means sitting down, having what we call a value conversation with your client, scoping your work, and then agreeing the scope of work and your price or prices up front with your client, and then getting on and doing the work. Every firm that I've been involved in for well over a decade now that has made the transition away from the time-based business model to a value-based model has done it slightly differently. And whilst I can give you some tips, and whilst I can give you some guidelines and give you some framework, as I said, every firm has done it slightly differently because the firms are different, the people are different, the clients are different. But there are a few things I'd just like to point out for anyone that's either seriously interested in making the change or is embarking on the change. Firstly, as I mentioned before, understand it really is a business model change. If it was just a billing model change, it'd be easy or easier. But it does mean, instead of looking at inputs and activities, and particularly time as we've traditionally done, or at least for the last 20, 30 years in the legal profession in Australia, it means looking at what you do from the perspective of your client, in the eyes of your client, and looking at what the client values. Time spent on something may well be relevant to the value you're providing to your client. I can spend a lot of time doing a whole lot of work, but if it's no value to my client's not prepared to pay me a fair price for that, why do it? And that's hard. It's hard from a profession, or for most of the profession, that looks at measuring, recording, and rewarding time spent. So the first thing, as I said, I just want to point out that it is a business model change. It's not a billing model change, and that makes it hard, but it's not as hard as what people may think. Secondly, I think it's really important that if you're embarking on the change to read. There's a lot of material around books and articles and podcasts, and just understand what some of the firms who have done this beforehand have gone through. In my experience, the professionals, including the lawyers that have made the transition to what I call a timeless practice, are happy to share their experiences, and the good, the bad, and the ugly. So make the most of that. As I said, read the articles and then speak to people who have gone before you. So learn from the mistakes they made. We all make mistakes. One of the other things that I would suggest is if you're a firm that's involves someone more than just yourself, communicate with all your stakeholders. Sit down and discuss it about why you're making the change, what we can do to make it better. Everyone, not just the owners of the firm or the partners of the firm, not just the lawyers, but the PAs, your receptionist, everyone has a role to play in making this transition. And it is just so much easier if the whole organisation, if the whole firm understands why you are doing it. Then you can communicate with your clients. Other stakeholders that you may need to communicate with is your financiers or bankers, particularly if ultimately you're not going to have the work in progress in terms of time relating to work in progress. speaking to your clients, in my experience, I've found that the clients are the easiest ones to get across the line in terms of value-based pricing your services up front. But you've got to believe in it yourself. If there's people in the firm that don't believe in it, it's really hard for you to convince your client. So all I'd say is communicate. You are going to make some mistakes on pricing. We all do. There's no perfect price. You probably, if you're billing by time, making mistakes now. If you don't have any write-offs, good luck to you. But most firms, in my experience, have write-offs. They're pricing mistakes too. So, as I said, involve everyone in the firm. I know this is difficult, and I know it's hard for those lawyers in particular that are used to measuring, recording and rewarding time spent. But if you speak to most of the lawyers, most of the professionals, most of the firms that have made the change away from time-based billing, they will say if they did it again, they would get rid of their timesheets earlier than what they did. It's really hard, I know, to do that, trust me. But when you keep timesheets with the best will in the world, it just keeps the organisation, it keeps the firm mired in time. And many firms, even when they're making the change to upfront prices, to value-based pricing, still want to record time. And there's a whole lot of reasons why that. For some reasons may be that you have agreements with your clients in terms of billing by time. It may be you have some contractual arrangements, so you can't do it all at once. But trust me, once you get rid of the timesheets, you'll break that nexus between time and value and time and price. So my only advice to firms, you're not going to do it in the next couple of days, I understand that, but the more successful firms have picked a drop-dead date when they're going to say, from such and such time, we are no longer going to time record and we are going to price all our services up front. And for them to be able to say to their clients, put their hands on their hearts, that you are never going to receive a tax invoice from my firm that you have not pre-authorised, is just a fantastic marketing experience. It's a fantastic experience for the firm, and it's a fantastic experience for your clients, and your clients will love you for it. I talked about having a conversation with your clients before your price. We call it having a value conversation. Value, like beauty, is subjective. It's in the eye of the beholder. And I think as a profession, and I know I used to do this, we used to assume all clients valued the same things. They don't. Every client is different. Every client values things differently. So I think it beholds upon us as a good professional to have a conversation with each of our clients and find out what's really of value to them, what's important to them. Because as I said, value is subjective. And I think it's the height of arrogance as a lawyer, as a law firm, to say all our clients expect the same thing. They don't. Your clients don't want to be treated the same as every other client. So my advice is, and I know that's difficult for, because it does mean spending time up front with your clients, but once you have that value conversation and you unpack and uncover what your client really values, trust me, it's just so easier to not only scope the work, but to price for that work. I think one of the other things that I've learned over the years about value pricing is don't price your own work. There's a reason authors and actors have agents, not because they want to give away 15 or 20% of their gross. It's because they're able to communicate the value their client or their customer is producing far better than an individual. if you don't price your own work, I'm as brave as a lion pricing your work. You know why that is? Because I don't have to face your client. And in many firms, the bigger firms may have what we call a value council or pricing council, and that is that a group of people have to make a decision about the price or the prices or the value that's going to be provided to the client. My experience, I've got to be frank, partners at law firms are the worst to price their own services because they're worried about losing the client. Discounts, we're so quick to discount. The good firms, they not only have brand integrity, but they have price integrity. And I think if you learn to not price your own work, your prices invariably, I've found, are higher. Even if you're not large enough to have a value council or pricing council, just have a philosophy, a policy within the firm like many firms do, and that is, don't price your own work. Go to a pricing buddy, speak about it. I can assure you, when you sit down and talk about the value you're providing to your client and how you're going to price that value, invariably that price will be higher. Not only that, it gives you confidence to be able to, in case there's any pushback from the client as to what the price may be, if you've had a discussion with a pricing buddy, it gives you greater confidence to be able to relate that price or prices to your clients. There is a saying that you can't value price the wrong client, and I think you can't price the wrong client, period, but you certainly can't value price the wrong client. And I think as good professionals, we have to get much better at saying no. There are going to be clients who don't like your price or your prices. When are you better off knowing that? Before you've done the work or after you've done the work? If a client doesn't like your prices or your hourly rates or whatever that it comes to after you've done the work, where does it lead you? You've got to go down on hands and knees or do some compromise with your clients on price, because presumably they haven't seen that the value you have provided equates to the hourly rate. It is just so much more powerful if you can learn to say no. Not every client is good for your practice. We have to get away from the philosophy that I've never met a billable hour I don't like yet. If you continue to do that, you're going to take on clients that are not good for your practice and you're not good for them. So my advice is use the value conversation to work out whether this client's going to be good for your practice or not, because not all potential clients are. And I know this, what I'm going to say now, is difficult for many lawyers, and most of us recoil from this, but provide a service guarantee. When you think of it in the business world, we pay more for a service or a product that's guaranteed than one that's not guaranteed. And by that I mean, how do you guarantee your work at all? Do you guarantee your price? Many firms that have made the transition to a value-based pricing model provide a service guarantee. You're not guaranteeing necessarily the outcomes or a result in court. What you are guaranteeing is a service that you've agreed to, contractually agreed to with your client. And if you can provide a service guarantee, clients love that. A service guarantee may be, as simple as if you don't believe that the value we have provided to you was what was agreed, sit down and talk to us as to how that value should be reflected in the price you pay. Other firms have a guarantee that says, if you don't believe we've provided the value that we've agreed to, pay us what you think we're worth. Now, before you completely recoil from that, when you think about it, particularly with our good clients, we're actually providing that guarantee anyway. We're just not upfront about it. If you have a good client that comes to you and say, hey, look, John, usually you do a good job for us, but this time it wasn't so good. What are you going to say? Bad luck, that was the price. Bad luck, that was the time we spent on it. No, you're going to come to some compromise, some arrangement. So why not get a marketing bang for your buck? Why not be upfront that with your clients? Now, it may mean that you're not going to do it for every client. It may mean that, as I talked about before, you've got to say no, because when I go into law firms, they go, well, if we gave a service or price guarantee to every one of our clients, they'd pay us nothing. That's not a pricing problem. That's a client selection problem. So you've got to weed out those clients that are not good for your business. Just some other advice is try and make the complex simple, not the simple complex. I think as lawyers, sometimes, whether it's in our DNA, but we try to make things too complex for our clients. And in particular, if you're making that transition to a different pricing model, keep it simple at the beginning. Make sure your client understands what you're talking about, what the work is that you've agreed to do, what the value is that you've agreed to provide, and what the price is. And if you get it wrong, just move on. Learn from your mistakes, also learn from your successes. But again, particularly at the beginning in making the move to value-based pricing, try and not make it too complex. I have to say, one of the most powerful things I think any good professional, any lawyer can provide to their client is providing options. Clients love choices. We love choices as human beings. If you can provide options to your client, options that contain different benefits at different prices, your clients can make that choice. Clients are far happier when they make the choice. When you provide options to your clients, trust me, clients just think much more about how they're going to work with you rather than whether they will work with you. Finally, I just want to emphasise that as good professionals and good lawyers, we should understand and preach and practice the concept of what we call the 5 C's of value. The first C of value is comprehending the value we are providing or going to provide to our clients. The second C is creating that value to our client. And then we have to communicate that value that we create. If your clients don't understand the value you're creating, whose fault is that? It's not your clients, it's our fault. And I think the fourth C is we have to convince our clients that they've got to pay for that value, a fair price for that value. You are not going to capture all the value you're providing to your client in a price. Your clients have to make a profit out of using your services. So your fee has got to be less than the profit that your client is making from coming to you. And just lastly, we have to capture, as I said, a fair proportion of that value by strategic pricing based on outcomes, results, not on inputs and activities, and certainly not on time spent. So I think these days, when clients are more sophisticated, the legal environment is more competitive, I don't want you to move to a value-based pricing method just because you think you're going to make more money. Your clients will only pay you a higher price if they believe you're delivering a higher value to them. I think it beholds us as good lawyers to be able to, instead of talking about inputs and activities with our clients, to talk about the value we are going to create for them. I think the use of technology can be an enormous factor in law firms providing great value to their clients. I go into many law firms who are proud, and rightly proud, to talk about the innovation, the money they've spent in technology to be able to allow them to do things far quicker than what they could do in the past. If you're still billing by time and you're investing in technology or better processes to get things done quicker, it's a dumb business model. You're going to get less revenue. So if for no other reason, why don't you fix your prices in advance, invest in that technology? If it allows you to do something quicker, fantastic. Your clients should be happier for that. Should they pay a lesser price? Maybe, maybe not. But I think there is still at this point in time a point of differentiation for those innovative, courageous and really creative firms that have moved away or are moving away from the we sell time business model. I think it's just hugely demeaning to good lawyers that for the last generation or two we've taught and been taught that all we do is sell time. You don't sell time. If you're a good lawyer, you sell much more than that to your clients. And if you don't believe me, go and ring up your best client and ask them what they buy from you. I guarantee they will not tell you that they buy time. Sure, that may be of how you've charged those clients, but they buy a lot more. And I think we have to, as a profession, concentrate and understand the real value as professionals that we are providing to our clients. And if you do that, not only will your clients be happier, but you'll be happier, your team will be happier, and you'll be more secure about the future of not just your firm, but the future of the legal profession.